All right, so tonight I just want to talk about fall fishing, live bait fishing, and being prepared for other things. This time of year, and this year's, anybody that knows me, that talks fishing with me, you know that you kind of have to, in the fall, you really have to be in tune with what's going on. If it's cool really early, you can kick that live bait, the bigger live bait fishing off a little early. If it's been warm, like it has been, about the last month really, we've had pretty consistent weather. The bait's a little harder to find. This is what I'm seeing, when the creeks, and most of the creeks that I've been in this year, the creeks are extremely clear. I mean, there can be 6 to 8 feet of visibility in the creeks, and that is not typical for this time of year. So my theory on that, and this some of the folks that know a lot more about this lake than I do, when the creeks aren't stained, the gizzard shad aren't going up into the creeks as far, because the gizzard shad are filter feeders. There's nothing for them to eat up there if it's clear. So this bait's out in deeper water. You've also got the thread fins, the bluebacks, the alewives. So with all of that being said, when you go out fall fishing, you need to be ready for everything. All right? So the first thing I want to talk about is my setup for planer board fishing. Raise your hand if you've never fished with planer boards. Has everybody hadn't fished with planer boards? Okay. So this is a variation of what they look like. They're side specific. Right side of the boat, left side of the boat. One thing that I think Todd Keith, the Shad Taxi, taught me years ago, it's a neat little trick. You clip toward the tip. So what that means is, you've got your hook, you've got your bait on your hook, you run that line through the pigtail, and some people just put
And if you don't have a pigtail, you need to get some,
Yes,
because they make it so much easier.
They are much easier than a regular clip. But if you'll put the pigtail, you put it on, and I don't have glasses, but I think I got it. All right. So this thing only works. It will not work if you clip it down here. You have to clip up the line toward the tip. That's the way I remember it always. And you obviously have to choose the correct planer board for the appropriate side of the boat. If not, it'll go the other way. So most of the time on my planer boards, I am fishing bigger baits, bigger gizzard shad. And when I say bigger gizzard shad, I'm talking 8, 9, 10 plus. Now, with the way the blueback, I will put bluebacks on there, because those bluebacks are 7, 8, 9 inches, and they're thick, they're meaty, and they can handle that board pulling on them. Most of the time, the alewives and the thread fins, in my experience, they don't. You'll kill them. They'll drown. Especially if you're pulling along 0.7, 0.8, 1 mile an hour. You see, this is a Carolina rig with no weight. It's a hook. I use a fluorocarbon leader just because I'm OCD about everything I do. A barrel swivel to eliminate your twists, and then a bead to keep that board from coming all the way down over the swivel and busting the fish in the mouth. Now, most of the time, my board that's going to be closest to the bank will not have any weight on it at all. I want that gizzard shad to be able to swim however and wherever he wants to. And typically, it's a good thing about the rod being 7 feet long. They're 7 foot. There's 14 feet. I might clip it there, may go up another foot, may come down. But depending on what your depth of water is that you're fishing, especially one that's closest to the bank, I might only do 8 to 10 feet, the closer to the bank that you are, okay? Now, here's where a little bit of experience and a little bit of trial and error comes in. You can run multiple planer boards on each side of the boat. So that first one that's closest to the bank, like I said, I will not use any weight on that one. The next one, or the next two or three, if I'm running 4 between me and the bank, I may have one that's free line, may have one that's got a 1/4 ounce weight on it, or a 3 ounce. 3/8 ounce is about the max that I would use on a planer board. Some days those weighted ones won't get hit at all. Some days they'll get tore up. So I play with them to see, and then if you're seeing a pattern like this one with no weight is getting hit all the time, then just switch it out. And I use egg sinkers, like the ones back there. So you actually would have to clip this and untie it. I do not like to use, on my planer boards, I do not like to use a split shot, because I don't want to put anything on that line that's going to crimp that line and create like a little weak point. Any questions about planer boards? I do fish them on the channel side too, and I usually don't fish as many, might fish 2 on the channel side. I would do a free line one and some sort of weighted one out on the channel side, okay? And again, I'm playing with those, yes sir.
Just mention that if you use braided line, you have to change the clips to heavier duty your clips on the boards.
Yeah, I experimented around with braided line years ago, and I've never cussed on a boat as much as I cussed that day. Because that braided line is it sticks to everything. It'll stick to your shirt, and I don't use it. Do you use it?
Yeah, but I don't pull boards that much anymore, but
Okay.
I did for years. And
One way that you can, instead of tightening the tension clip, you can double the braid up, like you can make a little loop so that you're kind of just doubling the width of it. Does anybody use braid pulling boards? Do you? I cuss. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. But do you find that you have to change the clips out? Okay.
No,
Okay.
maybe if I paid attention more.
if it's windy or a lot of boat wake, that's
Yes.
usually when they'll pop.
Yeah, it can.
If
It
it's
can
calm,
pop
you can
off.
get by without it, but if
Because
if
the
it's windy,
diameter of braid's about half. Like if you have 20-pound braid and 20-pound mono or fluoro, the diameter is about half. It may even be like 60% less. It's significant. So that's a good point. Thank you. Now, one thing on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, is there a rule of thumb how far you leave the board away from the boat? Does that vary?
The purpose of the board is to get the bait away from the boat.
Right.
Into the shallows.
Yeah, I would think, I'm just thinking, maybe 30 feet would be about as that would be my closest board. Now, I've run boards 150 feet, away from the boat. The other thing I experiment with is the bait size. So I try to put my biggest bait away from the boat, and then on those other planers that are coming back to the boat, I'll switch up the bait size. So I may put a 6-inch gizzard on there, may put a little bit medium-sized blueback on there. If you are fishing and you have fish blowing up on your big baits next to the bank, but they're not committing to hitting those, take the board that's next to it, drop it back a little bit. If it has a smaller bait on it, get it close. You don't want to get it right in line, but get it close. And sometimes those fish will come off of that big bait and hit that medium, that smaller size bait. And sometimes there'll be multiple fish on that big bait, and you put another bait back, and you'll double up. Not on the same bait, but you'll have both boards go back. It's just something about presenting another bait into that group of fish. there are other little tricks too. You can pop the bait, you can pull the bait and elicit a strike sometimes. So that's the setup for planer boards. Let's talk about downlines.
Chad, one other thing with planer boards, you can run artificials behind there too.
You can.
And it just to spread your lines out.
Yes, in fact, you can, I have run the big storm swim baits, I think they're like 6 or 7 inches. I have tried to run the little, not umbrella rigs, but the Alabama rigs, because they're not as heavy. The problem that I had with that is when I pull those, I do use braids, so I try to double that up, and that's a lot of tension. So like you said, anytime you hit a wave or anything happens, you're probably gonna pop that clip. But yes, if you have trouble getting bait, that's a great tip. Thank you. All right. So the downline, let me go back. Planer board. I use a full-on octopus J hook, no circle hook for my planer boards, because I want to be able to give that fish a mouthful. All right. The downlines, I use circle hooks. And the reason why the circle hooks, I truly believe these rods, along with the monofilament and the hooks, they all work together. So this line could be set at 20, 30, 40 feet deep, whatever you're fishing. Most of the time, I do not fish big bait on downlines. I don't think your hookup rate is as good. So I'm fishing small to medium bait on these, and then I take my hook and I match it to my bait. If I'm using really small bait, I'm gonna use a smaller hook than that, all right? But this is about the average size hook that I use, and it's a circle hook, all right? So I take these and I set this rod up, and again, let me go back. My OCD kills me when I'm fishing, but I have a specific way that I put my bait out every single time. I get in my bait tank, and I get the small baits that I'm going to put up front. I want to get bait in the water as fast as possible. So I get 2 baits out so that I have a down rod on one side of the boat on the front, and a down rod on the other side of the boat on the front. And typically those are going to be 2 ounce or 1.5 ounce weights to get them down to where they stay, right there. All right? So this, I use the quick draw rod holders. I think Cabela's made those. Does that sound right? So you can angle these. I want these rods sitting as parallel to the water as I can. Sometimes they're down just a little bit, maybe sometimes they're up, just depending on how they're installed. But I want them as parallel to the water as I can. So when you take people fishing with you that may not be as experienced as this room is, I tell people, the rods up front that are hanging straight down, don't touch the rod. Let the rod tip go to the water. Sometimes it'll touch the water. All right? Walk up to the rod and just start to reel the hand. Once that rod tip buries, walk up to the rod and just start winding. And you'll be able to feel when that fish is hooked, and then that's when you bring the rod out of the rod holder. I have friends that'll go up and well, that's the same thing as picking the rod up or setting the hook. If you're winding it really fast, you're pulling that hook out of the fish's mouth. So this rod and the stretch and the monofilament and the hook, they all work together. So that fish takes the bait. You can see that rod is really slow to load. That rod doesn't load until about right here. That fish should be hooked. If you see that, that fish should be hooked. Okay? That takes that hook in the fish's mouth, the stretching the rod and the stretching the mono, the rod, side of his mouth, okay? You will miss fish, but this is a much higher hookup rate than the planer boards with the big bait.
So you think that circle hook is that much better than a J hook?
In my opinion, for
And
down
down
rods,
rods.
yes, yes, yes. Will you gut hook fish every now and then with the circle hooks? But with the J hooks, the circle hooks, there's a couple other benefits with them. You get a fish on over here, you're fighting this fish, and then another rod goes off on the boat. It hooks itself. You don't have to worry about setting the hook. You'll probably hook up on that one as well. This is a neat little trick. One of the anybody ever been down to the James River fishing for the big catfish, the big blues? I don't know if you can see it or not, but I used to hook my hook like that on the rod guide. I mean, not the guide, the
Aye.
eyes. And then you line this up. Well, look at that way. And what's going to happen when that thing's going down the lake? It's going to beat the fire out of that, right? So the catfish guys, they're using even bigger weights. Like they're using like 6 and 8 ounce. So you can imagine what it's doing to their rods. Neat little trick that the guide taught me. Take that line, bring it around your reel, and then however you want that weight down here to where it sits. Oh, dang. See how that thing sits right there against it? It doesn't beat your rods. Now, it doesn't. There's a little bit of old scratches right there, but that's a neat little trick right there.
Before you learn the trick,
Huh?
before you learn the trick.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions about, down rods are pretty straightforward.
Are you moving when you have your down rod in?
Yes. And to talk about this, in the fall, I'm gonna fish down rods, I'm gonna fish planer boards, and on my planer boards, like I said, I'm varying the spread. You're gonna have unweighted and weighted planer boards, and then on these down lines, I like to have up front, I like to have my heaviest weight, so I may have 2 ounces, 1 ounce weights, then I have 2 or 3 planers, however, each side, and then out the back, that's what I want to talk about now, I have a lighter setup. And this is a pretty cool.
So you're running down lines in the front?
Yes, I like my down, I like to be, if I'm looking down the right side of the boat, from the back of the boat, I like to have down line, planer board, and possibly another, like if this is the bank side, I might have down line, and then 3 planer boards. The other side I may have down line, planer board, maybe another planer board, and then this. This is, I guess we just named it the fun rod, right? So it is essentially set up just like a down line. But I use a much lighter weight. It's either going to be a 1/4 or a 3 ounce. And I'm running either a medium or a small bait on this. So I'm going to use a circle hook on that. Okay? It's the same theory as a down line. But it's not going to be down because we're moving and that lighter weight is going to come up. So it's going to have a little bit, it's going to have a little bit of an angle to it coming out the back, okay? So this setup, I know people, oh, it's a sissy stick with a spinning reel on it and all of that. I get it. Y'all make fun of me all you want. So this is a unique reel. It's called an Okuma, and other reel manufacturers make these. But it's called a live bait runner, live bait feeder. It has a 2-drag system on it. It's got your regular drag, your fighting drag, but it also has a bait drag on it. right here, there's a little lever on the back, and it has its own, this is it's called a rear drag system. It's got its own adjustment, okay? So you put your bait out, and what I typically do is I'll take it, and I just try to toss it back about the length of my boat, 18, 20, 22, 25 feet, all right? Because it's not gonna go very deep. You've only got a little bit of weight on it. And because that bait is up in the water column, most of the time the fish are gonna come, they're gonna hit it and go with it. It's like that. This rear bait system, I leave this thing open so that you hear it. When he hits, he takes it. And Gary's been with me before, it sings, doesn't it?
Sure does.
It sings. Alright, so there are two ways that you can then engage the drag. You can walk over to it, hit it, like that. And then the key here, whether you do that, or you do that, don't start winding yet. That thing's gotta load up. Now this rod's got a little bit faster load on it because it's a medium instead of a medium light. And I'm using braid, so there's no stretch in it. But this is the fun way to catch them, isn't it? So it's a really light rod. You could put a regular old downline out the back of your rod. Out the back of your boat. You could do this with one of these. And in theory, you could leave the drag open on that. You could put the bait clicker on, and it would accomplish the same thing. These rods are basically meant for catfishing, flathead fishing. But found a way to use them. They're fairly inexpensive. They're under $50, and they're tanks. This is the 40 series, and I think I may have 150 series that catch some flatheads on. But so this is just a little alternate way of fishing a downline. Another thing, and I'm not sure how many people use floats. Do people use floats out the back? I fish those just like planer boards. Instead of clipping a planer board on, you're just clipping one of these. And again, you're running the line through this little swivel. Same deal here. I'm going to clip the tip, okay? And this one's worn out. I don't know what's, no, it's open, and there it goes. Probably a little rusted. But in the fall, I'm ready for everything. I've got all kinds of bait with me. I have big bait, medium bait, small bait. The small bait, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's gizzards, threads, alewives, even bluebacks. I don't care. I want to get those down. The way that I set, like I said, I set up when I get to a fishing spot, I want to go directly to the front of the boat and get rods down as quick as I can, get bait in the water. Then I come back and I put one board out on one side with a big bait, and then another big bait on this side. And then I'll do my boards. I'll alternate side to side. Leave those open with the bait clicker on. And I usually speed the boat up. I'm usually going probably 1.2, 1.3 miles an hour, just so that I'm getting those boards out quicker. And then I'll come back and put, if I'm going to run another downline, the last thing that I put out is this, the fun rod out the back. And then I would put I haven't fished a float in a long time. I don't know why.
So Chad, with your down rods being in the front, they're the deepest. And then as you go backwards in the boat, sounds like the bait in the water column is getting progressively higher
Yes.
till off the back it's as high in the water column.
Yeah, I'm trying to cover the different layers of the water. Some days these up front never get touched. And it's all on the unweighted planers and on these fun rods that are up in the water column. Some days it's nothing but this.
Mhm.
Some days it's the weighted planers that get hit and nothing else gets hit. So I try to be ready for everything. The versatility is key in the fall, because you know, you may have a day where the fish are on the surface or near the surface, and you might not even be marking them. And then there are days you may be marking fish down at 30, 40 feet, and you gotta be able to get down. And at that point, you know, I would put out, you know, a 2-ounce weight, an ounce and a half, and really tailor my spread to what I'm seeing on my electronics that day.
You forgot one. You need a topwater bait for when they break.
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So there are a couple ways to skin that cat. All right. One thing, and it will astound you when it happens. Sometimes I'll put what's called a transom bait out. You put no weight, just like you would with a planer, planer board. Put your gizzard. It doesn't matter what size. You know, medium or large or jumbo, whatever. You take that thing. Let's say that's your outboard right there. What's this? Is that quite 10 feet maybe, if that?
There you go.
I'd run that bait about right there. And that thing just sits there and fins on the surface. And if you're in the back of a creek, doesn't really happen as often. It could. I've had it happen out on the main channel, but that bait's finning on the surface right here about 10, maybe 12 feet from your outboard. You might want to have a change of clothes with you, especially your underwear. Because it's something. It really is. Now, I also urge you to take multiple casting rods. Take rods that you can get depth with. Lacey, if you're watching, I'm going to give you a plug for your Swamp Monkey. The 3/8 ounce Swamp Monkey and the 1/2 ounce Swamp Monkey are great. If you see fish on your side finder and they're down 15, 20 feet, Swamp Monkey's a great tool for those. Topwater bait might not catch them. It's hard to get a swim bait down 15 to 20 feet. Now, if you're in busting fish, take it from me, because I've done it before. Have a rod that you are comfortable casting. Don't try to go out and prove that you're the world's greatest fisherman and try to sling a bait caster and you're going to end up with a mess, because it's probably going to cost you a fish. Have something. Now, if you can throw a bait caster and you're comfortable doing that, by all means, do it. But have a rod ready for busting fish that you can confidently pick up. If those fish are busting there, you can put an accurate, dependable cast right in the middle of them without the fear of the bird's nest. Swim baits are good for that. I typically don't like treble hooks. So I know a lot of you do throw top waters with treble hooks, and have at it, but I don't want to do that. Swim baits are good. Light-weighted jig heads or flukes are great. You know, you could probably even try to throw maybe an Alabama rig at them, possibly. Maybe that you could get a multiple hookup on that. Does anybody else have any baits that you throw at busting fish?
I keep a thunder stick and a czar spook laying beside me. I ain't out on the water if it ain't laying beside me.
Okay.
And if he's on the surface, one of those two, 99 out of 100,
Yes.
will take him.
Yes.
But I have seen them on the surface where you can throw a swamp monkey or
Yes.
a sassy shad.
Yes.
They won't touch it underneath that water.
Yes, if it hits the water and it gets below them, they won't. Sometimes they won't hit it.
Yep.
You're right. You're exactly right. So if you see it, and this is something, a phenomenon that you're probably going to start seeing as the water cools down. So we've been seeing a few breaking fish. That's when you truly see them coming up, right? You see water being displaced off of the surface, up in the air. So those, what I call fish on the surface. When the water cools down, you're gonna see fish activity, but they're not busting, they're swirling. So they're gonna be 2 or 3 feet down under the surface. Now, they're gonna leave that, I call it a hole or a swirl. The swamp monkey will work there. Now, it's gotta be a lighter weight swamp, it can't be that half ounce. And as soon as it hits the water, you gotta start to work it, because you don't want it to fall below it. So that's something that you wanna be looking out for. That's a little bit different than actually fish on the surface. Those fish on the surface will hit just about anything on the surface.
On the surface, yeah.
They really will.
I sat at the house day before yesterday, and they blowed up down in the cove. Of course, all my rods and reels and everything I needed in the boat, you know, take me old as I am, 15 minutes to get down there and get it ready. So, but they stayed up maybe 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah. And as the water cools down, you'll stop seeing that, and you'll start seeing the swirls.
How much more does the water got cool?
It just needs to move. I mean, that water temperature has been pretty consistent for what, about the last month?
65,
I mean,
70.
it needs to be below, it needs to be below 60, I think. Now, hopefully we'll have somebody in January come talk to us about jigging. That's the fun part, when that water gets below 50 degrees. That's when you get out and you take some of your friends with you jigging, and you show them how it's done, and they don't catch any.
Never happens like that.
We were in your boat, and you chose what was on our rods, so it's like, oh.
But the one thing about fall fishing that I can tell you is, and Mackey's story, if you get a windy day and the wind is just beating your butt, there's nothing wrong with finding a point and putting an anchor out, and you can take this, put a little bit of weight on it, put some live bait out, chunk some bait, cut it out. I mean, put those out. These Okuma with the depth finders on them, or the depth counter, they don't cast very well. But you know, don't overlook that. You don't always have to be moving. You know, those fish, they'll move, they'll come to you. They may, you know, come through in groups or whatever. So don't ever discount sitting, you know. Mackey's caught a bunch of fish sitting on your dock. And that's the same way as anchoring up, really, isn't it?
I caught 19 stripers one day on my dock.
It used to be a guide on this lake that specialized in doing just that.
Really.
Yeah.
My granddaughter said if you catch one in the bathtub.
At lights, if you normally have bait, you go down there, there's no bait, it's because there's fish there.
That's right.
You just drop a line and move her back and forth, and
The fish will run that bait off on. Or they won't run it off. They'll
they'll
scatter.
just, yes, they'll scatter it away from the light.
Yes.
And it's getting nighttime fishing too.
Yeah. I'm gonna be calling you up to take it if you don't mind.
I'll take you.
Okay.
How do we fish at night this time of year?
She's like,
This time of year, Mackie, what would you do at night? Fishing points?
Sounds personal.
Yeah, my nighttime is on points.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm already catching some on the float.
I don't really start till December.
Right.
Christmas, I catch fish around Christmas time, but now we throw X-Rap, white X-Rap, and that's all I throw. But
Okay.
he's not here tonight. Tommy throws a fluke, so
Okay.
you catch a lot of fish, but it's slow fishing.
Yeah.
You gotta do it slow.
Well, that's the way it is with them jig heads now. Just like you fish your plug. Slow,
Okay.
slow. If you ain't hanging it up, you ain't fishing it slow.
That's tough on
you
the
don't
wall.
get hung up, you ain't fishing.
I feel like I kind of blew through that pretty quick. Does anybody have any questions, any other ideas?
I want to say something
Yeah.
about your Okuma reels and your line counters, and
Yeah.
it really brought to my attention this year. those reels are designed to be accurate when the line is within an eighth of an inch of the
Yes.
outer edge of the spool.
Yes,
And it is a tremendous difference in that bad boy if you got a half a spool of braid on there and you think you're going down what that line counter said, you ain't even nowhere close.
so an interesting thing that, most of the time, I will fish these down lines, probably the deepest I would ever fish them is 60 feet. Just because I don't wanna lose gear to the trees. So what I did is I stripped this thing down, I took about 60 to 80 yards, 60 to 80 feet off of mono. So whatever is in the water is fluorocarbon now, not only the leader, but anything that's in the water. So I've got mono tied to fluoro about, it's either 60 or 80 feet, I can't remember. But everything on, anything in the, because if you get, right now everything's clear, but typically if you get down below the state park, that water's crystal clear, and they're gonna probably see mono. And I've downgraded my, let me go, that's one thing I didn't go through. Planer board, I'm using 20-pound main line and probably 17 or 20-pound fluorocarbon lead, okay? Downlines, I'm using 15-pound, I don't know what I have under it, it doesn't matter, it's probably 20-pound backing. But I've got 15-pound fluorocarbon and 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. The fun rod, it is braid, because if you ever fish with me, whether it's crappie, bass, striper, any spinning rod that I've got on my boat, the reel's gonna have braid on it, just because. But this may be, it's either 20 or 50-pound braid, and then this leader is 12-pound fluorocarbon, should be. But if you're using fluorocarbon for your leader, you can always bump up, because that's not a problem. Cool. That's all I've got, fellas and ladies. What else do we do?
All right.